Hello everybody, my name is Brett Cates, and today I will be explaining the timeline to one of the biggest projects I have ever worked on, the Mason Bourne series. Now on this channel, I have created a
playlist
with every single video in this series in the correct order according to the timeline. So I will be going video by video explaining how this whole series is duct taped together. And I say duct taped together because we literally had none of this planned out from the beginning. And I'll put timestamps in the description of this video just in case you want to skip to the end and just listen to the summary. Alright, a little backstory. As anyone who's checked out this channel before knows, I have been making short films way before making anything with Tyker and Mason. But one day we thought it would be fun to just film a couple of fun, stupid videos since it's something that I do often. So we did, all in the same day. We created Mason Bourne, The Accident, and Grandma Man. And since we just filmed these on a whim, I just filmed them on my iPhone and edited them in iMovie. And after that point, we just loved making these outrageously dumb comedic videos together. And after a while, we had made quite a bit of them. And as a trend, we would take characters from one video that we would make and throw them into another video just as like a little cameo. Such as Grandma Man randomly showing up in Mason Bourne 2, or Mason Bourne showing up at the end of Tyker Grills. Which isn't canon. But by the time we got to Tyker Grills 2, we had a small idea. What if these cameos weren't just cameos? What if, and hear me out here, they were all connected? It would be like our own little cinematic universe. Basically all that to say that that's why there's a bunch of quality shifts, random things that either don't make sense or break continuity, barely make sense, or just flat out don't make sense at all.
Oh, now you are my grandma.
But that's why I'm making this video, to make our vision fully make sense to anybody who's interested. So let's get into the timeline. First off, Mason Bourne begins. This video begins with an old lady walking into frame. This is Grandma Man. She hears a ring at the doorbell and goes to answer it, but to her surprise, nobody's there. So she goes to close the door, but is quickly surprised to find a container has mysteriously appeared behind her. She cautiously and carefully approaches it. She opens it to find a baby that she names
Mason Bourne.
Through the rest of the video, Mason is much older and begins to train with Grandma Man, and begins to train with Grandma Man on how to fight, and ends with Mason receiving his leather jacket, learning how to do Grandma Man's most powerful move, and picking out his signature weapon, a yoga ball.
This will do, but I want it in blue.
The Accident, and Grandma Man. In both of these videos, Grandma Man is shown tormenting her grandson Tyker by tripping him down the stairs and biting him to turn him into an old woman. Mason Bourne. Here we see that Mason Bourne has followed in his grandma's footsteps and just torments Tyker relentlessly. Tyker Grills. Here we see that Tyker started his own wilderness survival show with Mason and a new character, his cameraman / best friend. Which is me. Tyker is shown to be pretty bad at his job by continuously getting Mason into bad situations, like forcing him to eat wild plants that make him throw up, pushing him off a cliff, and teaching him to walk on a frozen pond, which causes Mason to fall in and get hypothermia. And that's where the video canonly ends, because remember kids, the ending of this video isn't canon. Tyker Grills 2. Tyker Grills 2 opens with Tyker telling Mason that the views on their videos have been going way up, but he's firing Mason for his reckless behavior. And here it's pretty obvious that everything reckless that Mason has been doing wasn't actually his fault. But during their upbringing, Mason was a real meanie head and tormented Tyker, so this is just his way of getting back at Mason. It then shows that it's been 3 weeks since Mason's been fired, and he's back for revenge while wearing his leather jacket he got from Grandma Man in Mason Bourne Begins. Tyker and his cameraman are just sitting in his basement, you know, being bros, when they hear a knock at the door. It's Mason, and he tells them that he's here to get them, so they swiftly escape out the window. Mason finally gets in the room and sees that they left a sniper behind, so he takes it and continues to chase after them, but they get away in the golf cart. Later, Mason finds the golf cart and sees the two getting away, but is stopped when he sees a small frozen creek, which causes him to get a flashback to the first Tyker Grills, where he got hypothermia. This causes him to take a different route to follow them. Tyker and his cameraman finally think that they've gotten away, but they hear Mason in the distance and look up to see that he has his sights locked on them, but when a shot is fired...
You missed.
No, he didn't. Begins to die and you see a light glowing from his eyes. Once it's all over, he just disappears. Tyker sits in defeat as Mason approaches. Pause. Sorry, I just wanted to stop this here because I'm pretty sure most people didn't notice this. But when Mason realizes that he's out of ammo in his sniper, he hands it off screen, and then in the preceding shot, you can see the sniper floating off screen. think it's like one of the funniest parts of the series, and I feel like nobody notices it, so I just wanted to point it out real quick. Tyker and Mason get into a small fight that ends with Tyker pushing Mason off the same cliff that he pushed him off in the first Tyker Grills. Tyker runs back home only to find Mason is already there. Mason then does Grandma Man's power move that he was taught back in Mason Bourne Begins, which finally kills Tyker, causing him to die in the same way that his cameraman did. Mason Bourne 2. Mason Bourne 2 starts with... Wait, what? Tyker and his best friend. But I thought they died.
Hey! Shh! All will be explained.
But I thought they...
Shh! Shh! All will be explained.
Anyways, Tyker and his best friend are seen messing around when it's shown that they're right in front of Mason Bourne's house. Mason is seen tearing up over a picture of his girlfriend when he is interrupted by Tyker and his best friend ding-dong ditching his house. Mason throws the picture of his girlfriend, which hits Grandma Man. And yes, I know the picture of Mason's girlfriend and Grandma Man, they look exactly the same. Just forget about it. It's not important. Mason is then shown suiting up to get back at those ding-dongs who ding-dong ditched his doorbell at his front door. Once he's finished, he breaks into Tyker's friend's house. Mason then gets back at both of them separately and then proceeds to blow up their house, which funnily enough is the only reference that we've ever made to Jason Bourne other than the music in Mason Bourne 3. Mason Bourne 3. Tyker and his best friend are talking to a camera about how they're finally gonna get to meet Wait. But they've already met him before.
Hey, what did I say?
All will be explained.
Right, all will be explained. Now get back to filming your video. You're sitting in a closet and it's 1 a.m.
Alright, so they go up to the door and Mason Bourne answers, and he begins to give them a house tour. But when Mason steps into the bathroom for a moment, they find something that they weren't supposed to, causing Mason to attack and blow up his trailer with a giant blue yoga ball with them inside. Mason Bourne 4, Born for Revenge. The 9th and final video in this series begins with 2 masked figures breaking into Grandma Man's house to kidnap her. The effort is more difficult than they were expecting, but after a small scuffle, they knock her out and take her. Mason Bourne then arrives to the same location to find Grandma Man still there.
Hey, Grandma.
Catch!
Never mind. The man in the mask pops away in a similar way to Tyker Grills and his cameraman in Tyker Grills 2. Before Mason has time to process, he gets a call from an unknown caller. Mason answers and hears that it's Tyker. And he tells Mason that he's upset because he keeps taking out their clothes.
Soldiers!
But they're clothes.
Soldiers! We haven't gone to the reveal yet.
Sorry. Tyker tells him that he keeps taking out their soldiers and gives him 1 month to find them and rescue her. Immediately after hanging up, Mason procrastinates for the whole month and gets fat, causing him to not be able to fit into his suit once it's time to save Grandma Man.
Dang it.
So he spends a montage getting skinny again and then suits up. Elsewhere, Tyker is seen upset that the month is almost over and Mason hasn't even shown up to save his Grandma Man. So he sends out a soldier named Task Maestro to hopefully speed up the process. Mason is shown about to leave when he gets a knock at the door. He opens it but then is surprised from behind by the Task Maestro. He tries to fight back, but the soldier is clearly stronger than the others. To get around this, Mason outsmarts the Task Maestro. Then he takes him out. Mason then flies off to save Grandma Man. After a sick and possibly misspelled title card, Tyker and his loyal best friend are seen suiting up and approaching a tied up Grandma Man. Tyker asks her if he remembers him, but she only insults him in response. Mason then lands nearby, beginning to look for his grandma. After turning a corner, he sees 2 soldiers sitting on swings. He quickly takes both of them out, one off screen and one by...
Look up there. Huh?
Mason then finds Grandma Man, or so he thinks.
Yes, dearie.
Mason wakes up to Tyker and his friend, who at first just straight up assault him. But quickly after, they question him to see if he remembers them. Mason only insults them in return, so they flip him around to reveal a lineup of soldiers and tell him that these guys should refresh his memory. The soldiers take turns removing their masks to reveal that they're all separate clones of Tyker and his best friend that have showed up in every interaction that Mason has had. Finally ending with the ghosts of Tyker Grills and his cameraman. We then fade into a flashback where Tyker reveals his backstory to his best friend, explaining that at one point, Grandma Man actually did love him, but as soon as Mason Bourne showed up, all the attention and love was stolen from him. After explaining his backstory, Tyker recruits his friend, and together they create a cloning machine out of a refrigerator to enact a plan to get back at Mason and Grandma Man for ruining his life. It is then shown that Tyker has relayed all this information to Mason, and is now ready to leave him to be killed by all the clones. But as soon as they leave the room, it explodes with a giant blue light, so they quickly rush off with Grandma Man. It is then shown that Mason has killed all the clones that were whatever left with him, and he races off to save Grandma Man. Mason lands for the final face-off against Tiger and his best friend, wielding his signature blue yoga ball. But instead of fighting, they just hand over Grandma Man and tell him that he's surrounded by clones, so it doesn't matter if he has her or not. In response, Mason throws his yoga ball at Tiger's friend, only to slightly hurt him. But Mason notices that the corresponding clones of Tiger's best friend also feel the pain of the original, showing Mason that if he takes out the original Tiger and friend, it will destroy all the clones along with them. Mason then flies Grandma Man off to safety, leaving Tiger and his best friend thinking that their plans are spoiled, which then leads to my favorite line of the entire series.
Where are you going? I have to go and stop them. If you go back, you'll die. There are bigger things in my life, like ending theirs.
Mason returns to kill them, and at first he tries to just rush them, but is blasted back by Tiger's friend. This gives Mason a rush of memory on how to defeat them with Grandma Man's power move. Mason stands as Tiger and his friend begin to do their own power move. Mason looks up to meet eyes with Grandma Man. They both nod, knowing what Mason has to do. Grandma Man hides behind some rubble, and Mason powers up. The blast from Mason not only takes out Tiger, his friend, and all the clones, but also himself. Alright, quick overview. Tiger at one point was living happily with his grandma. Then, one day, Mason Bourne showed up. This happened in Mason Bourne Begins. After this point, Grandma Man began to stop loving Tiger and started treating him like trash, shown in both the Accident and Grandma Man videos. Mason then follows in Grandma Man's footsteps and starts mistreating Tiger as well, as shown in the first Mason Bourne. Then, in the flashback in Mason Bourne 4, you see Tiger crying over this on his balcony, and that's when he first meets his loyal best friend. We really should have given my character an actual name instead of just calling him Tiger's best friend. This explanation video has been a nightmare to write, dude. After Tiger meets his best friend and explains his backstory, they both work together to get back at Mason through cloning themselves. The first of these clones are Tiger Grills and his cameraman. They create this TV show called Tiger Grills and hire Mason so that they can mess with him. They do this by making him eat wild plants that make him sick, pushing him off a cliff, making him fall in a frozen creek, and in Tiger Grills 2, firing him. After this first attempt at getting back at Mason, he retaliates and kills both Tiger Grills and his cameraman. The next set of clones are seen in Mason Bourne 2. Here, they annoy him by ding-dong ditching his house. This annoys Mason, so he beats them up and blows up their house. Then in Mason Bourne 3, a new pair of clones finds Mason and gets invited into his house so they can mess around with his stuff. In response to this, Mason blows up his own secret hideout with them still inside. This leads us to the final video, Mason Bourne 4, where Tiger and his best friend are finally fed up with Mason killing and beating up all their clones. So they kidnap Grandma Man and tell Mason to come save her. Along the way, he doesn't only just kill this clone, beats up this one, kills both of these, one off screen and the other by throwing him into a freaking plane, not only killing the clone, but also killing an entire plane's worth of people. Then, after being captured and confronted with all these clones that he's done these things to, he murders all of them. And then in the final battle, he kills himself in his own energy blast just so he can kill Tiger. All in all, I think that Mason Bourne is the true villain of this story. And that is the whole Mason Bourne series explained. I hope I made it make a little more sense. Hopefully. Anyways, I hope everybody who watched this video enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.